G'day expats, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Expat Chat, episode 164, rounding out the 2025 calendar year. We're going to do a bit of a recap of the year that was. As always, I'm joined with my mate, mentor, business partner, friend and colleague, Brett Evans, who is the founder and managing director for the Europe and Middle East Africa region. Good morning, Brett. How are you?
All well, thanks. All well. It's been a hell of a year and there's a lot to cover, but we survived. That's how I describe it. And
Again,
for the folks who are new to the episode and the channel, g'day. And I'm joined by my mate and colleague and managing director of the APAC region, Mr. James Ridley.
good morning. And what a year it was. It's hard to keep up with all the economic events, the, the geopolitical events. There's been too many of them. Sporting events, natural disasters. There's
Just
just been
everything.
so much going on. Just everything. It's just been too much going on, to be honest. Federal election back in Australia. Changes, super changes, legislation changes. Um, we have the tariffs. Like, it's been a very big year for Australian expats, share markets, everyone to really eat up and spit us out the other end. But we've got there, share markets to finish up another year. I think the Australian stock market is sort of tracking around that sort of 3.5 to 4.5% for the year. And then stack on dividends on top of that, you're probably looking at about 6.5, 7%. So not terrible at all. That's pretty on par in terms of probably what you consider the long-term mean
Yep.
for the ASX. US a little bit better, and then internationals somewhat similar in between the US and Australia. So it's been a big year, but I mean, do we want to unpack a little bit of the year? Trump.
Yeah, I think we don't
So,
have 5 hours to talk about the whole year, but yeah, I
no,
think
no.
I think if there's one word that resonates through the year, it would be Trump. That's not
Yep.
necessarily in a bad way, but very
Yep.
much so in a way that a seismic sort of geopolitical events occurring that really sort of put everyone back on their heels, which I think is his negotiation tactics, shock and awe, as they say. Um,
Yep.
but, like we said to clients when April was happening and, people were throwing the baby out with the bathwater, um, it's his playbook. We saw it in 2016. So you shouldn't be surprised. I think people are surprised by the scale of it. When you're
Yeah.
trying to tax, an island whose only inhabitants are penguins, sort of, you got to
Yeah.
question some
Fuck.
things.
Yeah.
But, to me, when we wrap up and look back, Trump's been that recurring theme.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
also too, I mean, obviously Israel, Iran, Palestine
Yep.
was a very big event, especially locally here and Qatar to a certain degree. Adam and I
Yep.
flew into Qatar a week after that latest missile
Latest
attack on,
bombings. Yep.
so that was interesting. But yeah, look, it's like I was sitting down doing a review meeting yesterday with a client, end of year review, and I said, it feels like there's been 3 years worth of volatility and news points compressed into one. So
Mm.
for the folks at home, if you do feel exhausted from this year, you're entitled to pat yourself on the back. You survived. But it's been a hell of a year. I mean, it's not often that we get such big events like an inauguration, an Australian federal election, a changing of the guard when it comes to tariffs. Then we had obviously interest rate debates, what's going on there. Obviously, we know what's,
Yep.
JP, your mate from the US Fed's doing. And obviously Michelle at the
Yep.
RBA, she's now, flipping her
Well,
dial from cuts to raises potentially.
yeah, hawkish tones, that's for sure.
Very
Yep.
much so. So, 2026 to me, if, and this client yesterday said, looking out at the markets, what's your view on 2026? And I said, it's going to be a market that's moving away from macro topics to micro topics. By that, I mean, the last 2 years and 3 years, it's been driven by interest rate cuts, inflation, unemployment, those sort of key metrics. The markets look past
Yep.
most other things. As long as
Mm.
those macro things have been lining up, all's good in the hood. Next year, it's going to be very much about individual companies and sectors' performance. And if
Yep.
you think about it, the AI play has grandstanded over most things.
Mhm.
But if you look in the underlying, your Procter and Gamble's, your GEs, They're all doing really well, but no one talks about them.
No.
So I think we're going to go back to an earnings-based sort of market where people are looking at P&Ls and annual reports and disclosures to get a read on the market, as opposed to interest rates are falling, everyone's a winner, yay. Um, so yeah, we'll work a bit harder for our money when it comes to
Yep.
generating returns in 2026. I don't think negative returns is on the cards because
No.
interest rates aren't high as much as the
No.
people who bought back property back in 2020 and 2021 would tell you when interest rates were record lows. But where we are right now, it's not a massively high level, so people can cope with
Uh,
this.
That's right. It's I think right now it's still a very accommodative environment for big business and small business. Even if in Australia you saw interest rates go up by 0.5, we're not really in that sort of painful period anymore. Interest rates aren't ridiculously high. A lot of the big banks, even the big forecasters, your Morgan Stanleys, your Charles Schwabs, your Citis, even the IMF, they're all forecasting global GDP growth of more than 3% next year. So that's a big year.
Yeah.
So 2026 could be a really good year, but I think you're right. It's going to be drilling down, focusing a little bit more on P&Ls, balance sheets. I think the AI theme will continue. Everyone will constantly be asking the question, are we in a bubble? But remember, when you're asking yourself that question, it means a lot of chief economists, a lot of analysts, they are heavily then scrutinizing those businesses and they're watching them a lot closer. And, as we can see, a lot of those businesses have monetized that AI theme properly and
Mm.
appropriately. They're not doing it on ridiculous leverage or anything like that. So I think it'll actually be a sensible year. I agree. I think we'll have to work a little bit harder with within the portfolios, picking the right things. I think there's still going to be the geopolitical tension. Iran, Israel, there's going to be the Russia-Ukraine crisis or war that just keeps going.
Doesn't stop. Yeah.
Um, Trump trying to maybe take on Venezuela or take over Venezuela, I should say.
Yeah.
Whatever that one's about, the natural
Uh,
resources, I'm sure there's a play there. We know it.
yeah.
I think central banks, I think, could see some changes, but I don't think you'll see anything drastic. I really
No.
don't. I think maybe a couple more cuts and maybe the odd increase, maybe, but nothing which will cause a big run or stir within markets. I actually think it's just going to be a rather moderated and sensible year. No big returns, but no low returns. I actually think it's going to be a pretty sensible year, to be honest.
Mean reversion.
Yep.
It's back to the long term, and I think you're right. To me, international central banks have higher interest rates than Australia, so they have more to come down. That's why you will see probably ECB and um, Bank of England, US, all cutting rates down to back to probably where the RBA is right now. So I can't
Mhm.
see the Reserve Bank cutting rates any further. I know was it UBS are calling for a rate rise in May, but we'll obviously watch that data over the coming, sort of 3 to 6 months to see what Michelle and the team at the RBA think. But to me, there's no alarm bells for 2026
No,
apart from those black swan or sort of geopolitical events. Hopefully that's all calmed down.
unforeseen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
I think to me, unemployment's a great bellwether as to how the economy is going, and it's not high. It's not at
Yep.
record low levels, but I think obviously Australia's got the problem of productivity.
We do.
So they're going to try and fix that. That's what to me is probably holding back Australia's GDP growth
Yeah, it
is,
is.
and it's either going to be a case of businesses adopting more AI to solve that productivity gap. I can see that happening. So,
Mhm.
and the lack of productivity is probably going to do business owners a favor. It's going to force them to adopt technology and look at
Mhm.
it in new ways. So, people do good things in times when they have to really put their thinking caps on. And I think that's what we're going to see in 2026 leading into 2027. I think to
Yep.
me, the big one, if you said what's one event you're really going to be hard focused on, it's going to be the May budget next year. Yeah, we obviously had that little kumbaya catch up with Albo in August when everything was on the table. It's the first real time. No incumbent government does a lot of changes in their first year when they've come
Mm.
in. That's
Yep.
their second year. So
Honeymoon period that first 12 months.
exactly, their feet are under the desk. They've been cooking up some changes,
Oh,
and I think that to
oh.
me is going to be, will we see changes to negative gearing? Will we see changes to the CGT discount? Will we see changes to PPRs, trusts? There's so many topics hanging in the ether that is raised, And
Well,
as
they've
he
got
said in
time.
August, they got time. They got two
They've got
terms,
time.
maybe three. We'll see.
They've
The
got
Libs
time.
aren't doing themselves any favors. So yeah,
No.
watch this space.
Yeah, I agree. I think might get another update on the residency rules as well.
Yep.
That might come back around. Uh, they did announce things previously about changes to self-managed super funds as well for expats. That's obviously didn't get put through, but residency is definitely one that we'll be keeping a close eye on because we'll have to do some planning around that one with repatriation and being very mindful of
Yeah.
any particular tests and factors. But at the moment, it's still up in the air. It's still as a draft. It's still the old 1936 Tax Act rules. So, yeah,
And
keeping a
that's
very
actually a
close
good
eye on
point.
that.
Let's do a bit of a public service announcement. You and I have seen a lot on the socials about people
Haven't we?
scaremongering with
Oh my
the new rules
gosh.
coming in 1 July 2026.
Ah, absolute
Guys,
garbage.
if you've got
Shit.
kids in the car, ask them to block your ears, but it's bullshit.
It
So there
is.
has been legislation drafted. It hasn't gone
Yep.
through the lower house. It hasn't gone through the upper house. It hasn't received royal
Nope.
assent. We're at
Nope.
least 12 months off. When you see and hear from us
Minimum.
that
Minimum.
legislation has been drafted, 12 months later, minimum, as you said.
Yep.
So when we see it, you guys will see it. But right now, the silence is deafening.
Yeah, exactly. There is some really good fear mongering going on right now on social media. So just be mindful of that and do your research, engage actual professionals that are licensed that can actually show you and drive you to the actual legislative document that's been,
Yeah.
received royal assent. It's got the stamp on it. But right now, yeah, still a waiting game. But yes, I reckon next year we'll get some more updates on that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's long overdue. Was it Canberra commissioned the Board of Taxation 2015 to start working on that. So we're now 10 years since that initial engagement.
Oh,
The report was
oh my
released in
gosh.
2018 to the public. And yeah, we're still here talking about it. So we know Treasury was working on it previously before the last election. So we know that. But yeah, it's that hurry up and wait scenario that we're all sitting on and abiding by. Meanwhile, people are still finding it difficult to uh, manage their affairs in countries that don't have protection of DTAs and those sort of things. So
Yep.
yeah, watch this space and look, it's a great reminder. And Joe, our marketing communications manager, we're very proud for us to say this, but make sure you do follow all our socials. She puts it in the description below, so there's no excuse not to join. But make sure you do subscribe. I do think there's going to be a lot of this conversation going on in 2026 that will affect expats, whether it's residency, whether it's taxing on property or shares or trusts or super, everything's open for debate. So make sure you do, follow the socials and make sure you follow the team because we do put out a plethora of information for you for free. And we just want to help make expats, keep them fully informed.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, on the note and on the topic of socials, there's a big year ahead planned in 2026 for the Atlas Wealth Group. I think we'll be getting around in a lot of different countries, probably 7 to 8 different countries at least next year,
Yep.
especially with some of those masterclass events. So keep an eye out on that because we'll be coming to a city near you, potentially.
Yep.
And we look forward to it. And just can't wait to keep seeing the group being able to broaden its services, support more and more Australians living and working overseas. Big year. If you're not in the Australian Expat Financial Forum group on Facebook, get in there. There's a couple of thousand Aussies in there now. It's growing day in, day out, and love seeing the commentary and the questions and the feedback that everyone's putting in there to help other Australians and how they solved it as well. Good call to action there to jump in there as we wind out another year.
Yeah. No, look, I think now's a good time when you're sitting around, the offices closed over the Christmas break, doing a bit of pontificating and navel gazing. Yeah, make sure you're following us on all the channels because we do put out a lot of information. Joe works really hard to make sure that information is timely and relevant and it's out there. Keep an eye on your bookstores in April. So there's a book coming out. So I was stupid
There
enough to jump down
certainly
that rabbit
is.
hole. Guys, don't write books. Trust me, it's hard. I knew it was going to be hard, but
Yeah,
damn, it was just an experience and a half. So
that's
we'll
right.
be sending out via the newsletter and stuff about some places where you can pre-order the book. But we do have a
Yep.
book that's going to talk about the whole cycle of an expat's life, from
Hmm.
expatriation, living overseas, and repatriation.
Yep.
Um, we haven't gone into too much detail on specifics because there's so many rabbit holes we could have gone down. Instead of being 256 pages, the book would have been 700 pages. So,
Yeah.
but it's a great, I've always said when I met with clients and started Atlas back in 2011, I wish there was a book at the airport you could buy before you jumped on that plane to be more informed. Guess what? 2026, it's coming to your bookstore near you, Amazon and all that sort of stuff as well too.
Absolutely. Can't wait. I mean, and you've been working tirelessly with Wiley, the publisher, and can't wait for this to hit the shelves at your local QBD and all those sort of ones, especially when you're in the airport and you see it, the design as well, it should stand out. So
Pretty
keep an eye on
distinctive.
that one.
It's pretty
It is.
distinctive.
It is. It stands out very well. And I think I know I can't wait to hand it over to clients that are just about to leave and head overseas because I'll be like, this is your Bible. Read this in the next 2 months because you'll just have such an appreciation for the journey that you're going on.
Yeah.
But you'll be very well informed and there's some great little nuggets in there. It almost is a really important checklist as well, to be honest, as you work through it. So yes, keep a big eye out for that one. We'll be putting out a bit more information about that over the coming weeks and months, but we're very excited for that to hit the shelves.
Yeah, and Wiley pumped about it too, which is always nice. When a publisher's excited
Yeah,
about the work you're doing, you're like, okay, well, we sort of might be onto something here. And to
yeah,
me, as a bit of a frame of reference, so Wiley published Barefoot Investor, Andrew Hallam's Expat Millionaire. So we're sort of operating amongst some extremely esteemed company, which is
yeah,
flattering for us, but
yeah.
gives us conviction that we know we're on the right path there to help people out.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's a big announcement coming to you very shortly, which can't wait for. But gosh, what a year! What a
Yeah, I
year!
know.
It's gone.
Yeah,
It's gone. Yeah, yeah. It's just been so much on.
there's
Forgot we
been a
also
lot
had a
on.
new pope as well. We had a new
Yeah,
pope
I forgot about that. Yeah,
this year as well.
yeah.
That's usually a pretty big event. He's a US character now, new pope. But
What else can we
just
jam
been
pack
so
into
much on.
2025?
Yeah, well, yeah, don't say too much. There's still
I
2 to 3
know.
weeks left, so careful.
And for the guys out and girls out there, we'll be shutting both the offices down on the 19th to give the team a well-deserved break. They have been working incredibly hard through 2025 to look after folks. And so we'll have a quick 2-week break over the Christmas period. Everyone will,
Yep.
have some merry time and be jolly. And we'll back in the decks on the 5th of January. So, mate, I think we rounded up there to the folks out there. We appreciate you being on this journey with us. As you can see, it's an ever evolving journey, both for Atlas and expats in general. And
Mm.
thank you for being part of that with us.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for being part of the journey. It's been a huge year. We can't wait to bring to you a huge 2026, bigger and better, faster, stronger, I should say. And we look forward to doing so. As always, Brett, it's been another lovely year on the podcast. Been some great guests as well, which is always good to have on. Good to get the other team members involved as well. But in the meantime, guys, have a Merry Christmas and a lovely start to the new year. And we'll see you on the first episode of 2026. Thanks for your time,
Brilliant.
Brett.
Thanks, mate. Merry Christmas to all, and we'll see you in 2026.